what they do is run to the next.
No. To get a better perspective, let's go back and figure out why do I think that?
And visualize positive things so that I can get a positive result.
Men are under the illusion that if you suppress it, it goes away.
This is sad. No, let him talk.
This is his side. Today I have Micah with me, and we're going to discuss identity. Micah, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate you guys.
Pleasure. How difficult is it for someone new coming into the industry to actually build an identity and keep an identity?
I think that you got to come in with an identity, and the identity, ideally, is to be yourself. Being yourself wins. It's not like it was when I was first coming up in music, where things were still kind of like mysterious and private, and you could be someone different on stage and behind the camera than you are in real life. And that was acceptable. Like, that was almost the norm, what you were supposed to do. You go through etiquette classes and, training on how to just conduct yourself within interviews and on camera, on stage. But now it's more free flowing. It's like the more yourself you are, the better.
So would you say it's because of you said the times, like would that be because of social media? There's so much more.
Absolutely. It's because now we live in a day and age where very few is kept secret. And it's almost like everybody's a rock star in a sense, and almost to the point where people are leaning too much into their darkest thoughts, and they're becoming the darker version of themselves because that's what people like to see. People like to see chaos, darkness, and so then you get people on like TikTok who are doing stunts and things for clickbait, just for attention and views. And that's when we lean more on I'm more of a balanced guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not everything is for everybody. Not everything is for the gram. Not everything is, some things are better kept personal. But, that doesn't work in this day and age. It's like the more you show, the more attention you get. And attention now equals dollars.
Yeah, the attention is the currency.
The attention is currency, yeah.
And so you would say more people are subject to losing their identity faster than it used to be.
I think more people are subject, to me, I think more people are subject to get wrapped in that identity.
A false identity.
It may not even be a false identity. It may just be wrapped in their darkness. We all have a dark side. And some of us, are better at staying in our light than others. And I think that comes with age and experience and, your disposition in life. But yeah, I think we all have a dark side. And the bad thing about social media and the internet is that it praises the dark side of us.
Yeah.
And then when we end up doing something really detrimental, they turn their backs on it.
Right. Yeah, I see that.
They cancel you, or they ridicule you. They tear you up in them comments.
Right. So as a veteran in the industry, right, as you're working with artists, what do you see that you can do, or is there a way for us to help them to maintain their identity with all that's going on with social media?
I think that the best way that we help someone, I don't even want to say maintain their identity. The best way we help someone bring the best out of them is being the best versions of ourselves.
Being an example.
Exactly.
Okay.
Showing up online as the best version of yourself. Showing up online as someone that is trying to, if you're going to show your faults and your experiences, let it come from a place of healing for someone else. You know what I mean? As opposed to just showing your faults for attention.
Right.
you know,
Right.
because you have every type of attention seeker on the internet. You got the people that are seeking sympathy, the victims. Then you got the people that are, you know, brash and harsh and rude, and they lean into that because people love that. There's a place for every personality on the internet. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. As having worked, you know, in the industry and worked with all types of personalities and characters, is there, have you come to a point where you could see yourself, how you've changed your identity because of the industry? Have you grown into a different identity? How would you say your journey has been with?
That's a great question for me as someone who has woven in and out of identity throughout this whole thing. I came into like the music business as like a kid, essentially. Like I started out in an R&B group, and
Like what age?
I was 16.
Okay.
And very impressionable at the time, and wanting to be. Looking back, I wanted to be famous, you know. I wanted to sing and I loved music, but I wanted to be famous as well, and that spoke to a deeper void in my life. But because I wanted to be a certain thing, I listened to certain people that I felt knew what they were talking about. And that ended up, you know, helping me a lot, but it ended up hurting me. You know, I used to listen to people. The fact that I even became a songwriter producer is crazy because I used to listen to people tell me, don't worry about that. You're not a songwriter. Focus on being an artist. You're an artist. Focus on being an artist. When all along, I was more of a songwriter than an artist.
Right.
I mean, it's all art. We're all artists, but as far as a performing artist, I was more of a songwriter producer than anything. And I knew that I could do that, but I sat back and listened to someone tell me who I was at 16, 17, and no one ever came in and checked that. So it became a habit. It became a thing where at one point I didn't know who I was.
Were these mentors that were telling you that you weren't?
These were like executives, managers, people I was signed to.
Okay.
Because they had their own interests invested, and they had their version of how they saw me. You know what I mean?
Had a vision for you.
They had a vision for me when I didn't really have a vision for myself, you know. And instead of teaching me to have a vision for myself, they taught me be a slave, pretty much. I got a vision for you. Nah, this is what you need to be doing. And what that built in me was, and you know, being a 16-year-old, you're very like formidable. Your eyes wide open, very green.
Right, you're impressionable.
Yeah, impressionable. And so it really, really plays on your subconscious. Subconsciously, you walk through the industry thinking that someone else got a vision for you. No one ever empowering you and telling you to have a vision for yourself like that. No one close to you at least.
Because that's a mechanism for control.
Absolutely.
Because if you have your own vision, if you have your own identity, now you might not be as easy to deal with.
Right. And also too, on the flip side of that, me maybe not presenting myself as the surest person of myself. You know what I mean? Someone who's very impressionable, who kind of like, you know, at the core of me is a bit of a people pleaser.
Okay.
You know? And so people see that and they
prey on it.
Yeah.
They
know how to use that.
So identity and self-esteem, self-value, self-worth kind of go hand in hand.
Absolutely. They're like one and the same.
Yeah. And so at that age, 16, 17, you're really just developing.
Man, you know, when you're dealing with someone who they're deeper rooted things that are connected to that. When I was younger, I had what I like to call a false confidence.
Okay.
I was very loud, chest
braggadocious,
yeah, you know what I mean?
Egotistical.
Yeah, so that people wouldn't see me. You know what I mean? And I thought that was what I was supposed to be. And nobody ever told me, like, I won't say nobody. There are a few people that could see me, but their voices weren't loud. The voices that were loud to me were, yeah, that's what you're supposed to be. That's what you're supposed to be right there. But as someone who dealt with like mother issues, abandonment issues, you look for that motherly love in other women. You look for that void in just people that you felt like had some sense of guidance.
So are you saying you created a persona and you projected an image, and once you projected that image, now you got to protect that image?
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't really genuinely who you were.
Yeah, I was being who I thought I should be. Who I thought people wanted me to be.
Who you thought the industry.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes, and that is part of what I feel like my calling is now, is to speak to young men. I speak to the inner me, the child version of me. And there's so many kids like me, and even young men, even men my age, that are still, healing is not a one-time thing.
Right. It's not a destination, it's a journey.
Not, exactly, man. And I thought it was like a destination, but when you actually do go on the journey of healing, you just learn that there are just levels. Once you graduate this level, there's another level of it. And at every level, the resistance gets stronger and stronger.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yeah, man, I'm just now becoming who I was meant to be. You know what I mean? And I really feel that. And on one hand, I could be regretful and remorseful and be like, man, I should have knew this back then. No. When you understand that everywhere you are is where you're supposed to be,
right,
it alleviates the regret and the remorse, because you needed that.
Yeah, it helped to shape you and mold you
to be this right now. Because right now, I'm in legacy season, and in order for me to really build a legacy and cement my legacy, I have to know exactly who I am.
And that is a process. That's a journey.
Boy, you think you're something your whole life, and you're like, no. My whole adult life, I identify with being like an artist, like, being someone that masses admired and famous, but really realizing that fame is not really it's an unnatural thing for humans, and it's not really good for humans like that. You know what I mean? That kind of adoration and attention, the psychological thing that it does on you, even trying to get to that point, that's how you lose yourself.
Right.
If you are losing it, that's how you lose yourself.
That's where the process of losing identity starts, is when you want to be
chasing,
famous, and you want people to bring you, you want to get glory from others.
Instead of dealing with and asking yourself, why do you want to be famous? And if you really ask yourself why you want to be famous, and you be real with yourself, you'll discover that there is a void in your life that needs to be filled. But you actually need to go and do the work to resolve that, because what's going to happen is you may get famous, or you may die trying.
So adults, in other words, we are kids in adult form that have voids, that have these dysfunctions that weren't filled as kids, that we are constantly seeking through this journey of life to have filled. And fame is one of those things that you try to fill it with, but it can never be enough.
Never. I know guys now, I know so many famous people that are miserable, unhappy, and are stressed because they got to maintain that. And
maintain an identity that was created.
They have to maintain an identity, you know what I mean, that may or may not really be them. You know, how many times have we heard celebrities being like, man, celebrity ain't, I really wish I could just go to the local Walmart and not, get harassed or go shopping with my kids, go hanging out. Can't do none of that. Imagine what it's like being Beyonce.
Yeah, she's not even allowed to go to the mall.
Yeah, it's like a law.
Yeah, they passed a law.
Isn't that crazy though?
That's crazy.
That's wild. It's like a trade-off.
And what you're saying is it really worth it?
Is it worth it?
Right.
You got to really ask yourself, is it worth it? Like me, I don't want to be famous no more. I want to be impactful. And I don't want to be like, I don't necessarily have to be like filthy rich. I want to be wealthy, and I want to be able to like make an impact on my family first, and then my community with money. I want to live a comfortable life, but I don't want more than I need.
So with all the knowledge that you've gained in this journey, the give back is to help young men and men in general, and all people, whoever you can touch, with understanding that this false sense of identity really is a trap. And as you work to become something that you're really not, that I think what it is we live from the outside in until we come to enlightenment and realize you got to live from the inside out.
Absolutely. That's so good, bro.
Yeah.
That's so good, because it's so true. We like from kids, there's so much imagery. And now I really feel like that's why I'm trying to just bring some balance to my daughter's life, because it's hard. Every day there's this persona thrown in your face, and people are showing you highlights on the internet.
A highlight reel.
This is a highlight reel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you think that that's real life. And it's not.
And then you start comparing.
And that, when you start doing that, that takes you down a really dark path.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you start comparing, and then you start to become obsessed with other people's lives. How did they get that? Because you think that you want that for you. But it's like,
we don't know what they went through to get to where they are.
You don't.
Right. And everybody pays a price.
Absolutely. Everybody pays a price. Even if you take the shortcut route. And we've known people that have, done some very
I learned
things.
this personally. Sometimes a shortcut is the longest route home.
Come on.
And when we seek shortcuts, we're really just shortcutting ourselves, right? You look at a destination, or there's this thing that you want, and what the world wants you to do is take the shortcut. But in reality, the journey and the process is where the prize is.
And I don't care how far into technology we get, I felt just personally, at the end of the day, we always gonna be humans.
Yeah.
And our human nature is process. Journey, process. That's what makes things in life worth having.
Yeah.
That's what makes the things that we want worth attaining. Otherwise, we get these things and we always want more, and it's never going to be good enough.
Your eye is never going to get tired of seeing.
No.
It's going to want to always continue to see. And that's when you feed that animal, it's going to continue to grow. That's where self-discipline and having an understanding that I have to become a master of me before I can master the world.
Whew. Yes.
Right? That's the journey that we really are on, is not this physical plane, but am I mentally, emotionally strong enough to master my own mind?
Man.
And once you master
so
that,
good.
Everything else becomes easy. It's not that life will be easy. It's that you have a better understanding of life. And now you are able to understand when obstacles and challenges come that I'm a master of me. So whether I have the thing or don't have the thing, I'm okay.
Yes. And just a better understanding of who you are. When you understand who you are, it will allow you to know, all right, that ain't for me. Oh, that's for me. That ain't for me.
Right.
In my growing up in this business, man, I've done so many things that were not for me. I've accepted so many things that were not for me because I didn't know myself. I didn't know my worth. I didn't understand my worth. I didn't believe my worth. I always believed that I was less than what I really was. You know, and it was always because I would look around and see people with more than what I have on the outside.
On the outside.
On the outside. But it's something about like being like a preacher's kid that will allow you to walk in a dark industry like the music business and come out unscathed with your soul. Like there's a certain oil over me. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean that I make the best decisions. It means that God's grace is upon me that will allow me to make these mistakes in order to reroute me to know where exactly I need to be, where I'm going in. And I just thank God for the grace because I've seen some really dark moments.
You've been through things and came out of those things that others
other
didn't.
people didn't necessarily make it through. And I'm talking about like I done been shot at, robbed, in fights. I'm talking about drunk on the freeway, switching 6 lanes and hitting the side where if it was 100 feet later, I might have ended up in some trees on an off ramp and maybe have lost my life. You know what I mean? Like I remember stuff like that, like vividly, and it always ends up. I end up unscathed, but not without a solid warning.
Yeah, there's a consequence for it, but it wasn't the ultimate.
It's like metaphoric of when I was in that car and it was too late and I was too drunk to be driving and I fell asleep and switched literally 6 lanes. Luckily, it was like 4 a.m. There was no cars on the freeway. I'm knocked out, switched 6 lanes, hit a overpass. Barrier. I was on an overpass barrier. And just imagine, boom, I'm talking about, gotta grab the wheel, car total. Not only did I survive that, I was able to call a tow truck and no police came. Cause that was my biggest, I was okay, right? But my biggest fear was, man, hope I was gonna come.
The DUI.
Yes, I didn't want a DUI. And God showed me that grace to be like, look what you're doing. Look what almost happened to you. I'm literally looking at trees in the off-ramp 100 yards ahead of me.
Wow. Yeah, that's the grace and the mercy.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm just like, that to me is what I'm most grateful for. And the way I repay God back for that is like really like surrendering to my purpose. And I fought that for so long because I felt like there's still more left for me to do in here. There's still more left for me. I left something on the table here. It's like, God, like, no, I got a way bigger table for you, but you got your eyes fixated on that little.
Yeah, like the scraps.
Right. If you just surrender and follow me, stop acting like you don't hear my voice. You hear my voice. You hear what I'm telling you loud and clear. And it's getting louder and louder to where it's like, okay, I want what you have for me.
So obedience over sacrifice, because you sacrificed a lot for the music industry and you really didn't get all you should. But when you become obedient, that's the place you are now, is in that obedience phase or learning to be more obedient.
Exactly, bro. Exactly. And it's crazy because we talk about trying to make this type of transition. You talk about resistance. Oh my God. I feel resistance more than ever at this point in my life. I'm talking about every morning I wake up, I feel resistance.
And it's a mental, emotional, is it?
It's everything. It's all over my body.
Like a heaviness.
It's a heaviness. Because one morning it could be the resistance of uncertainty. You know, not knowing exactly what you're doing or where you're going or where this is headed or what rewards you'll get from this. then there's also the resistance of going back to what's familiar to you, the comfort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then there's a resistance of you getting too old for this. You need to go get you a regular job. You need to go get you a corporate, go be an executive at a music label or something like that. Something unfulfilling.
Right.
There's so much resistance that I face every day. And it's really how I know that I'm going in the right direction. It don't mean that it ain't painful.
And that it's easy. Right.
It
don't say that this path will be easy.
What?
Yeah.
It's literally the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I thought dealing with my baby mama was the hardest. Nah, bro, this got that beat.
Yeah. Following what you know you should do over what is easier has been the hardest.
Because it's a lesson in faith. And I don't think that I ever really had blind faith in my life. I don't think I ever really had like real faith.
Right.
I think that like I participated in faith because that's what I thought that I was supposed to do. I that's what I was taught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I never really knew what real faith was until these last couple years, bro.
And what we'll do is faith is a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
We're going to bring you back just to have a whole conversation on faith in this next level in your life and how you making this transition is blessing other people.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate you coming, man. And
absolutely. I appreciate you having me.
The heart that you just shared with me, man, it's a blessing to me. It's going to be a blessing to our viewers. I thank you, appreciate you, and just know it's the best is yet to come. So stay on the path.
Absolutely, dog. Appreciate you, brother.